Welcome to Casey Cares, the voice of Kansas City nonprofits. We share the stories of the people and organizations working every day to strengthen our community and change lives. At Casey Cares, we connect the nonprofit and the business sectors to enhance the quality of life for those in Kansas City, our residents and our visitors. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. More than 500,000 children pass through U.S. foster care system each year. In Kansas alone, about 6,000 children are in foster care, giving the Sunflower State one of the highest entry rates in the nation. In neighboring Missouri, nearly 13,000 children are in foster care on any given day. Behind those numbers are young people facing uncertainty, loss, challenges most of us can hardly imagine. But there are organizations stepping up to make sure these teens know they are seen, valued, and worthy of hope. That's where Care Package Inbound comes in. This 5-year-old nonprofit is dedicated to restoring dignity and hope to teens in the foster care system through thoughtful care packages and meaningful connections that remind them that they matter. How did this mission begin, and what impact is it having on young people throughout our region? And how can our community help foster teens and younger children as they navigate some of life's toughest circumstances? Joining us today is Care Package Inbound co-founder Chris Youngdale. Chris is going to talk about the organization, what they're doing, and how a simple act of kindness can make a profound difference in a young person's life. Chris, welcome to Casey Cares. We're so glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth. I'm excited to be here. Your intro makes it sound like we've got a lot of work to do, and we do. That's a lot of teens. That's a lot of youth. Wow.
Well, it is big and good stuff. I do want to correct myself. It is not just teens. You all cover any child in foster care, but we'll dive into particulars and all of that. So how did this idea even start?
Yeah, so it started, Jessica Sylvie, co-founder, and I, back in 2019, started chit-chatting about what could we do to make a difference. And on her side, she had a daycare at the time, and actually my youngest, I have 3 boys, and my youngest was, we were looking for daycare for him and found her daycare and kind of started a connection. And on her side, she would see kids come in. She kind of did emergency placement and had a decent amount of foster kids temporarily come in and stay with her, or just for the day for the daycare. And she would see them come in with nothing or very little and hear stories. And on her heart, it was kind of like, man, like there's got to be an organization out there that does something to provide necessities, right, for kids entering foster care. And so she started doing some research and couldn't find anyone, especially nobody local in the Kansas City area, that was doing what we were doing. And kind of like your intro, like, it said, like, there are so many in Kansas, there are so many in Missouri, just locally. The amount just kind of felt overwhelming of, I don't even think we're going to be able to hit those numbers. And so she sort of put it on pause. And then when she and I met, I had just had a heart for the same thing. I was like, man, like we can do something to make a difference. And so between the both of us, we kind of put our heads together and came up with Care Package Inbound, and started building backpacks, 48-hour emergency backpacks that had all of the essentials in it. So that kind of started back in 2019, but really didn't start providing backpacks to the community until closer to 2021.
Well, I want to remind everybody, just in case you forgot, we had a pandemic in there in between.
Yeah,
and actually, it sounds like, too, as you were coming out to actually put this in an organized nonprofit sense, we were still kind of in that era. So can you talk a little bit about trying to form your nonprofit and why you chose to go a nonprofit route to do this?
Yeah, well, because we're not in it for the money. I mean, that was really the biggest thing, is it wasn't like, hey, this is a way that we can jump in and make some money. This was seeing a need. And so we felt like the nonprofit space just made a lot more sense from that standpoint. And we really wanted it as much as possible to be a community rallying around a cause. And I believe that that happens more in that nonprofit space where people can say, I need to be a part of making a difference and doing something that impacts generations and current and future. And so yeah, that was a big push for the why the nonprofit space specifically. But to your point with the pandemic, Ruth, like that was actually, I mean, just an awful time in US history, in world history, right? But it gave us the ability to have a dream, birth a dream, and we were kind of given this, well, we can't really easily like launch it in terms of getting communities and groups together to build the backpacks. We can't really get them out into the space right now. So we were able to actually use that time of kind of isolation to create videos of awareness, to ask questions to the community, and to do our research and getting the groundwork really laid so that we could launch it. And we had, I mean, millions of responses on platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook of asking current and former foster youth and parents, social workers, therapists, doctors, anybody that we could ask, what do you think would be needed to be in a backpack where it's actually used?
Mm-hmm.
There are organizations, I'll just say this, there are incredible organizations in the US that do something similar to what Care Package Inbound does, but a lot of times they're just packed with kind of random items. And what we see and what we heard in our feedback in our research phase was that a lot of social workers were going in, having to open up the backpacks, take out a bunch of items that couldn't be in there for various reasons. It could be safety, it could just be it's not quite appropriate to be giving to a foster youth. There's various reasons in there. And they would take it out. And then the backpack was kind of left with next to nothing, or they would have to go out and buy things using their own funds to fill the backpack. And at that point, they just decided, we're just not going to use them. And it actually became more work. We wanted to
Mm.
be the difference where we're not adding work, but we are taking away and providing, more time, providing something that they don't have to go in and take anything out. They can just grab it off of the shelf and actually know it's going to be used and it has the essentials in it.
Well, I want to dig into what goes into the backpacks. How do you
Yeah.
do that? But I want to take a step back for a moment and talk about foster children, just so that our audience totally understands what these kiddos are dealing with, so they understand the need for the backpack. Maybe you can share a little bit because you've done so much research
Yeah.
into those needs.
Yeah. So a lot of times in Kansas and Missouri specifically, a lot of times the reason that a child or a teen enters foster care is neglect, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's incredibly unfortunate. It's a hard thing to be able to even comprehend and to even say out loud. But it is the reality of the situation where we are, and actually in a broad part of the United States as well. And so, what does that mean? Well, that means that their essential needs are not typically being met. So, they may not have more than the change of clothes on their back, or it could be a situation where they're having a hard time at home and they're picked up by a police officer or a social worker from their school, and they are not given an opportunity to go home and actually get some of their belongings before they enter care. And so many times what we see is somebody will enter into one of the agencies, one of the foster care agencies, in kind of waiting for placement, and they have nothing with them apart from maybe their school backpack, if they're picked up from school, or just the clothes on their back, and they're just waiting to be placed. So they're entering into care with nothing that they can call their own, no change of clothes, no essentials. And so this is a big gap in the process, and so this is a big reason why we kind of met that need and provided the backpacks themselves. And so there's actually a story that I share a lot at events that I think just gives a great picture into the why we do what we do. And a social worker had shared this story with us. Um, and it was of a little boy who got picked up actually by law enforcement, and pretty traumatic event to be pretty young. Here's a cop, and putting you in the back of a cop car and transporting you somewhere. Pretty traumatic experience, just that by itself. But then also being taken away from everything that you know and not knowing where you're going. And the little boy actually had an accident in the back of the cop car and had wet his pants and showed up to the social worker's office, and unfortunately with wet clothes. And a lot of times they're not going to have the supplies necessary to just provide something that fits that child, something that can give that has all of the essentials. And but this time they were able to do that. They were actually able to say, hey, like, what's your size? Like, can I get you a change of clothes? Grabbed a backpack that was created for his size with everything that a little boy would need in it. Gave him the backpack. He went into the restroom, changed his clothes into dry clothes, came back out, and one of the items that we have is a blanket. He grabbed the blanket and went on a chair and curled up and actually fell asleep with the blanket. And that's
Mm.
just like such an incredible story shared with us that really, I think, kind of showcases the need, but also the ability to be able to just invest in a child is, man, that's super cool.
So we're talking with Chris Youngdale. He's co-founder of Care Package Inbound. Let's dig into how this works. How do you assemble these backpacks? Where does
Yeah.
the stuff come from? All the key nuts and bolts.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it's very research, and so we're very particular about the items that we put in our backpack. And I can dive into it, like every item specifically. I could tell you
Well,
the
give us
why behind every single item.
an
Um,
example.
yeah,
Maybe uh, and if there's big differences between like teens and I would say younger children,
yeah,
elementary.
yes, for sure. So there are some differences. For example, like a younger backpacks are going to have stuffed animals in it, where a teen may not care to have a tiny little rabbit in a backpack or a teddy bear or something. And so they're going to be age appropriate for sure. They're going to have all of the hygienic items in it. So toothbrush, a toothbrush carrier, even, right? So a tube to be able to put it in to protect it. Shampoo, body wash, soap, everything. Therefore, we're going to have women products, healthcare products as well for the older teen girls. And so like makeup removers in there, like period packs, all of that's going to be in the teen girl side of it. Which we think is really, really important, even with instructions on like how to use the items, because that education is not always there. We're gonna have we're gonna make sure that we have items that are not like super form fitting. So we want you to always feel comfortable no matter where you are. We're gonna have a change of clothes. We're gonna have pajamas in there. We're gonna have blankets in there. And we have comfort items. We actually did a bunch of research on like fidget toys and like what
Mm-hmm.
type of toys are going to be really good to be able to have in there in various ages. And so we have a lot of variety of fidget toys in there, or like crossword puzzles or coloring books and journals, different things like that. So we've got a lot of items actually that are in the backpack, and the way that we assemble them actually is usually through organizations like companies that will get together and say, hey, we want to impact the community. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide the funds for the items. So then what we'll do is we'll take the funds, we'll go buy all of the items that are necessary, because we don't do anything used in our backpacks. Everything
Okay.
is brand new. Everything's very specific, and like I said, researched on what we want to be in there. So if somebody wanted to buy specific items, we could send you a link of here's the items that we would want in the backpack that we would actually use, but everything is new. And so we'll buy the items, we'll take it to the organization, and we'll do like a team building event. So we'll set everything up. The team will come in from the company. We'll explain the process, and we want to make sure that we're always packing with intentionality, packing with purpose. In fact, we have a podcast named Packed with Purpose. We can get into that later. And so they assemble everything, and then we take it all, provide it to the social workers, to the drop points. So we can do it that way, or we can do it where a company sometimes or an individual will say, "Hey, we want to donate X amount of money. We don't need anything. We don't want to pack anything. You can use those funds however you want." And typically, what we'll do is we'll take those funds, buy items, and then host a public packing event where anybody can come to that and pack a backpack for a foster youth.
That is very cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. So where do the backpacks come from? Do you buy them? Are they donated from companies brand new, or how do you access that?
Yes. Yeah, I so wish if you know anybody that wants to donate a bunch of backpacks that are brand new, I mean, please let me know. But no, up to this point, actually, we've been buying them, and so that is part of the cost. An average backpack, actually, to give you an example, an average backpack cost us about $75 to build.
Wow.
So these are not inexpensive backpacks. Again, quality is a big deal. We're actually in a research phase right now for infant backpacks as well. Something that we've seen that's a little heartbreaking, but we've gotten the feedback for is, hey, we'll have a new teen mom that's in foster care, and we'll be able to provide a backpack to the teen mom, but then we don't have anything to provide the newborn. And so we've been doing a lot of research on what does it take to provide, because there's a lot of regulations on that too, to be able to provide all of the necessities for a newborn. And we're praying that we launch that by the end of this year, start of 2027 is our goal, to be able to launch the infant backpacks. But those are right now, per research, are $100 per backpack there. The cost is a little bit more.
Wow.
So it's not a cheap venture, but it's needed, and we're okay with the sacrifice.
So how do you fund all this?
We fund it through organizations, through grants. So we are able to get a couple grants. We are doing our best to be able to grow that effort too. I think that that's going to be something that will really allow us to move to the next level in supplying the needs. And so we're going through individual businesses. We're going through individuals as well. So we have some people that can jump onto our website and donate, one time a month. So a monthly donation if they want to do it, or a one-time donation. And we've got a good amount of people that are willing to do that. So we're funding it mainly through businesses, through individuals, and grants.
And the website? Please give it a
Yep.
plug.
Yeah, no problem. It's simple. It's carepackageinbound.com. And you can go on there and see how the backpacks are built. We actually just launched a fun feature on there where you can build your own backpack. So you can actually, there's a section in there, and you can go and you can say, I want to build one for this specific gender and this age. And you just simply click on that backpack and you can buy it. And then we'll get all of the items at our warehouse, and we'll be able to assemble it and get it to whoever actually needs it, whatever organization is needing it at the time.
So do you have a lot that are built and stored at your warehouse, just waiting?
We do not have, we are actually behind. And so we are back ordered right now. And people are waiting on backpacks. Organizations are waiting on backpacks. Ruth, we've actually seen some incredible growth. And so that's been really exciting. And also at the same time, my co-founder is always texting me, and she's always like, Chris, we have 0 backpacks at the warehouse. And I was like, that's amazing. Well, for one, because they're being used, right? So
Right.
teens and kids are actually receiving the backpacks, and they're doing their intended purpose, and that is so cool. And yet at the same time, there's this feeling of, oh my gosh, we need more. And so our warehouse is pretty empty at the time, but we've seen, in 2024, I'll give you an example, we were able to build 300 backpacks, which at the time was just that's amazing. We loved it. 2025, we built around 600, almost 700 actually, backpacks. And so far this year in 2026, we're close to 1,800 backpacks, on our way
Wow.
to 2,000, a little over 2,000 backpacks. And so the growth in just the past 3 years has been incredible to be part of, but there's still a need. Our goal is that we would be able to have a backpack allocated to every single um, youth entering the foster care system in the Kansas City greater area. And so we're needing around 6,000, 7,000 backpacks a year to be able to hit those numbers.
So what's the disconnect there, that you don't have enough folks packing or money to buy, or is it a combination of things?
I think that there's not a shortage of folks that want to pack. Actually, that's a great question. We're getting emails all the time of when's your next public packing event? Like, how can I get involved? And that is so honoring to hear that feedback. Like, people want to make a difference. So that's not the gap at all. The gap really comes down to funding. In the nonprofit space, I think that's the story that most usually say.
Right.
And it's just finding the right individuals that are willing to kind of back and be part of the change that we want to be able to see in this area. So funding becomes the thing that slows that down, because we do not go into debt for anything. We're not going to take out loans on anything, and we don't actually take a paycheck at all. I don't take a paycheck at all. Like, it's not something that every single penny goes towards backpacks. And so this is something that is, um, yeah, 100% funded, but we're not going to build something until we have the money.
And how do you distribute them? I mean, you're not showing up in a police car, I would assume, and
We're not.
saying, "Here we
Yeah,
are."
honestly, that would be pretty incredible. And so, I mean, it would obviously some hard stories may be coming with that, but it would be pretty cool to be on the front line to be able to just provide these backpacks to those who need it. But we have incredible partners, and actually, we have what we call distribution points, and we've been able to grow those distribution points. So, those are various police departments actually that are we work with that actually house it, because they're a lot of times on the front line for this.
Right.
So police departments are going to house that, and then social care offices as well are going to house those. So we have about 23 distribution points, and actually one of those is Children's Mercy Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and in the downtown location, and we're looking to actually grow that as well. We would love our backpacks in more of the Children's Mercy hospitals, and as we continue to build the infant backpacks, I think that's going to be something that's a little bit more readily available. But we want our backpacks anywhere that a child entering the system will be first. So that could be a hospital, that could be a police station, that could be a social care office. We want that to be the first thing that they receive before they actually get to their placement. That being said, though, if you are local to the Kansas City area, we do allow you to request a backpack. So if you know some foster youth are coming to your house and like, hey, I've got the gender, I've got the age, kind of know the sizes, you can request that. And we do have the ability to either be able to drop off or kind of a pickup. And we will work with families, foster families that are in need of the backpacks.
So it sounds like you need donors, you need workers, uh,
Yes.
financial donors, and product donors, even.
Oh gosh, that would be amazing. That's actually something that's a big part of my research right now, actually, is trying to find organizations that are willing to donate the product itself.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get the cost of the backpack down, to your point, that's awesome that you bring that up. Because if we can get the cost of the product down, well, we can build more, right? And now all
Right.
of the sudden, $75, maybe that builds three backpacks versus one. And that would be an incredible blessing. So yes, that is a hope. Yes, so financial donors to be able to build, or product donors.
I know one of the things that we had talked about in prepping for the show is that you actually had this really broad mission and you kind of pulled it in. Um,
Yeah,
can you talk about that for a minute or two, and what that was like?
absolutely. Yeah. So when we first launched, I think like many organizations, we just had dreams upon dreams upon dreams, and that's not a bad thing. Like that's not a if you're an organization that just has grand dreams, keep dreaming, please. Like somebody needs to. But what we found with our organization is that we grew pretty quickly right away with having our hands in a lot of different areas. And what that did is just stretched us really thin because we're a small team, a very
Right.
small team. And so to be able to do everything that we wanted, so for example, we actually started an aging out program. This is talk about a need. Please, if
Yeah.
you are somebody on here that has a heart for foster youth, look into aging out programs and invest in that space. Our heart is that we could get back to investing in that because that is such a great need. We also took donations from all over. We would get so many packages. It was incredible to see just the response from individuals for what we called a foster care closet or foster closet. And so we would get used clothes, gently used clothes. Some of them not so gently used, but that's all right. We got a lot of clothes in, and we would spend hours, days going through these clothes and trying to get them sorted and to open up a space so that foster families could come in and at little to no cost just go through the clothes and get what they needed. And that was a full-time job. And that
Right.
was a lot of work. And so we actually partnered with an organization, an agency in town called KVC, and we actually donated what we estimated to be probably about maybe 20-ish tons of clothes to them and said, hey, we had this dream of starting a foster closet. We don't have the capacity to continue with that. And they were like, I think we do. I think we can start it. So we donated the largest U-Haul that we could find, packed to the top, including, I think we had 2 or 3 minivans packed to the brim with clothes. We brought it all to their office and dropped it all off so that they could actually take that and run with it. But yeah, so we had the aging out, we had the foster closet, and we had care package inbound, the backpacks kind of all going at the same time. We were actually registered in every single state in the US too. So we were trying to ship out bags to every state in the US. And that just became a logistical nightmare to be able to do that with how small we were at the time. And so after Jess and I kind of talked about it, we said, I think that we see some incredible growth. And at the time, it was pretty scary because we had this momentum going, and we kind of felt though we need to pull back and do one thing really, really well. And when we do that one thing really, really well, and we've got that firm foundation, then maybe we can start exploring some of these other things in the dream. But let's pull back. And that was kind of scary because of the momentum we had. Like, are we going to lose the momentum completely and just going to have to shut down because nobody cares anymore? And that just wasn't the case. Us actually pulling back and just focusing on the 48-hour emergency backpacks is exactly what we needed to do. So yeah, a little scary, but the
Well,
right call.
well, congrats to you for recognizing that and doing that. Again, it's Care Package Inbound. Chris, thank you for sharing the important work that you're doing. We encourage you to go check out their website, carepackageinbound.com. Thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing, Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. You can find out more information about the work we do and how we support nonprofits at our website, Casey Cares Online. And don't forget, we spread the love on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio and Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., you can catch us on ESPN 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Thanks for joining us on Casey Cares.